Hey, hey, what's up, ladies? Welcome to another Friday episode of Revitalized Womanhood. This is my To the Core episode. I do my interviews with all of my guests on my Tuesday episodes, and my Friday episodes are dedicated for me, and sometimes I have guests, but mostly dedicated to me, talking about any kind of topic that's been on my mind relating to our 4 core categories that we have in the Revitalized Sisterhood. And that is our beliefs, bonds, body, and biz. I specifically wanted to focus on all of those here in the month of December, obviously, because we are looking at what 2022 has been for us, what that means as far as goals, resolutions, whatever, kind of checking in with where you're at and where you've been at in 2022 versus where we want to be going and where we're going to be setting our sights for 2023, right? So in my community, for my Revitalized Sisterhood, it actually perfectly starts on January 1st for us to begin our first ever, they're called firing squads, and that's our teams. And what that means inside your teams, you're doing things like setting goals, and each of those goals are centered around these core categories, right? Belief, bond, body, biz, right? And they're going to be doing all of these kind of goals and making tasks and objectives. If you go to my homepage at revitalizedwomanhood.com, you can see the 4 weeks to a fresh start is a free email series that you can actually sign up for. Again, it's free. Go do it. I think everybody should do it. Every woman should do this because it's kind of like a step-by-step template to help you envision what you want for yourself. I mean, and when I say yourself, obviously that's you're the center, the nucleus of your family, of being a wife, being a mother, whatever. But for yourself, to see where you want to go, where you want to be, like by the end of 2023, what do you want for yourself? Do you want to have lost weight? Do you want to have created a community, like grown your bonds, like expanded your circle, right? Do you want to budget finances? Do you want to be better organized so that your house is running more efficiently? These are things that we're talking about. So the free 4 weeks to a fresh start is kind of just an opener to that. It's kind of like just ripping the Band-Aid off and starting, ladies. This is what we're going to do. So go do that. I encourage anybody that hasn't done that yet to go do that. So today I want to talk about bonds. Last Friday was beliefs. I hope you tuned in and listened to that. This week we're going to talk about bonds and what bonds encompass for me and for my community is not just family and friends. It's anybody that has any kind of influence on you or that you are influencing, right? So that could be people in the office, people in the PTA, people, maybe that you're not necessarily as close to. And that's a big part of it as well. But more, I think I want to talk about, because what's been on my mind is thinking about the people that are in your close circle, right? We are the sum of our five closest friends, right? That's the saying. And obviously it doesn't need to be just 5, but I want to talk about that because as far as the Order of Man Iron Council and the Revitalized Womanhood, Revitalized Sisterhood goes, it's all about community, right? And a lot of the things that we hear back from these men is that and honestly, I'm hearing it from their wives. I've heard it from other men, but I've heard it from their wives mostly now recently, is the changes and the impact that this community has had on them in such a remarkable way. I mean, not even just small changes. These are huge, life-altering. I mean, did you tune in for my episode with Drew, the 13th member of the Iron Council? He said he was like, it was in a bad way. If he did not do something and shake up what he was doing, he was going to be going down a bad road. He was already going down a bad road. It was going to get very dark. So being part of something that's bigger than you and part of something that's you're expected of and that you're expecting things from, I think that gives us so much purpose, right? And because of that purpose, it has such a big impact on us. And then we, in return, have an impact on others. Anyway, I'm trying really hard. These Friday episodes, I do my best not to go around and around and around or down too many left-hand turns, but I'll try to bring it in. But so I wanted to talk about something that's been very important to my husband and myself. Obviously, we love our family. We love them dearly. We have learned, however, that just because you are born into something does not mean that that's who you need to surround yourself with, be around all the time. I'm not saying this as far as anything personally. I'm just speaking in generalities. Like, we left to travel and we met so many people and so many amazing new friends and people that have such common interests with what we are doing right now. And it just makes you look at other relationships. Now I'm talking about friends too. Makes you look at other relationships that you may have previously had that you were holding on to, and maybe they just need to be let go of, right? I'm not saying, ew, I hate you, never talk to me again. I'm saying we're different people on a different path with different beliefs, different interests, different goals. So maybe it's fine that we don't hang out with each other, because I want to make room for people in my life that do have similar interests, do have similar goals, do have, So I kind of narrowed it down to a couple things. This is not all of the things, obviously. This is just, I've narrowed it down to a couple things that came to my mind instantly when we're looking for reasons or ways to cultivate these bonds, these really meaningful bonds, right? First, make space for it. And that's kind of what I was talking about. So if you've got all of these people that are already in your life, that you're giving your time to, giving your energy to, giving your whatever, right? Then you don't have room for others. So you have to make space for it. Something's got to give. So if you're not having intellectually stimulating or financially contributing, like, I don't even know how to explain it. If you're not getting that from Joe Schmo next door that just comes over to watch the game, don't hang out with Joe Schmo anymore, right? I mean, let him go. He's fine. He can go find other people that have the similar interests in what he has. You do not have to feel obligated to cultivate that relationship that's going nowhere and getting you nowhere, right? So, like, I love to bring up the example, and if you've heard it before, I'm so sorry, of course we've got all of our friends from high school. Of course we've got all of our friends from college. Of course we've got all of these people. Do you talk to them all the time? Maybe you do. Bless your heart. I don't. I barely talk to any of them. And that doesn't mean I'm a horrible person. It just means that it's not easy. It should be easy with these people that you want to cultivate these bonds with, right? My husband started hanging out with this new group of guys from the Iron Council, right? Last year when he got invited to go on the hunting trip in Hawaii with Ryan and a few of these other gentlemen. Well, the kind of people that he's wanting to hang out with that are not playing games, don't have agendas, don't expect compensation in some way, whether it's, I'm not saying monetarily, but compensating you to be their friend, like they're expecting something of you, right? So he went with these guys hunting, and he's like, wow, they're all very similarly matched to me in my values, in how I raise my kids, in how I am a husband, in hunting. We like hunting, similar interests. They're all guys who are constantly thinking about how can I better myself in all of these categories. Their minds are just in a place of self-improvement and growth, right? Like, how can I invest my money better? How can I grow my finances? How, anyway, you get what I'm saying. So he met these gentlemen, and because we only have 100% to give, right? I hate the saying 110%. It just bothers me. We don't have 110%. We have 100% of ourselves to give. So think about it as like a pie chart. If you're giving, say, 10% to your church, right? 10%, get it? If you're giving 10% to your church, if you're giving 30% to your kids and your family life, if you're giving 20% to your husband because you have to be a wife, right? You're a mother, you have to be a wife. So that's different. That's not the same amounts that you're giving. And then also think about if you have a community position you need to give 10% to, or if you have you're in the PTA, you have to give 5% to. Anyway, that's the point. Think of your life as a pie chart. Now think about your bonds in that pie chart. How big of that slice are you leaving for cultivating the bonds of friendships? And what does that look like for you? So you only have, if you've left it, so you only have 2% left on this pie chart from everything else, your kids' activities, soccer, football, going to the grocery store, date night with your husband, church activities, whatever. If you only have 2% left, you do not have enough left to have all of these random friends, right? You've got to make the most of that 2%. You better have some seriously quality friends that only take that 2% up. I'm saying that's dramatic because I don't think that's near enough. You're not giving near enough of yourself, but you need to make space for it. So Ed Milet said this so beautifully, and it's going to stick with me till the day I die. He was on the Order of Man podcast with Ryan Mickler, and he said to make space for things that you are putting importance on, right? So look at your life. Is the most important thing your bond with your spouse, right? Because he was here before the kids. So I'm going to tell you that. My husband's relationship, our relationship, is the most important relationship, right? So I am going to schedule I'm going to schedule our date nights. I'm going to schedule time with him into my calendar first, before anything else, right? Then I'm going to schedule in time with my kids. I'm going to schedule in what's important to be doing with my kids because they are the most important. Then it's going to be important for me to schedule in time for the women in my life, maybe, right? If I need a girls' night out or whatever, I'm going to schedule that. And then I'm going to let all of this other junk kind of fill in afterwards. So prioritizing the most important relationships in your life first, making space for it. Okay, so making space for it. So the next one is getting ready for it. So to cultivate these bonds, the second step is getting ready for it. So you're already making space for it. So you're ahead of the game, right? So you're already like preparing for these friendships, or you're already preparing for these relationships because you're making space for them. You know they're important. Even they may not even be there yet, but you've made space for them because you know it's important. I know that having a girls' night out once a month is definitely important. My husband knows that having a guys' night out is important. Ladies, I cannot say this again. Let's take a little right-hand turn here. Let me digress. If you are in a relationship where your husband is telling you that it's not important that you take a break and go be with the girls, let's ask ourselves first. I'm not saying your husband is bad. I'm saying let's ask ourselves first, are these women that you're wanting to hang out with toxic? And your husband's like, ew, I don't want you hanging out with them. That's why I think you turn into them and you come home with this, like, you're not that great of a person. Let's think about that. Let's check in on who our friends are when we're going to girls' night out. Or if you're going to be doing something naughty, or if your husband's like, oh, I don't really like where this path is going. That's A, or who are you hanging out with? B, is he like not confident enough? Does he not trust you? Is he jealous? And I'm not just like blaming your husband. I'm not blaming the guy in this situation. I'm saying that it's coming around for you too, ladies. If your husband is saying, hey, I need a guy's night out, encourage it. Why would you say no? let's think again. Okay, are the guys he's hanging out with dirtbags? Maybe. So have that conversation calmly and say, hey, honey, I just kind of think the guys you're hanging with kind of dirtbags, whatever. Have that conversation nicely. Don't be rude. But also, are you insecure? Are you not secure enough with yourself, with your relationship, with your spouse, that you are not okay with him to go on guys' trips or guys' night out or whatever it is? That's something in your relationship that you two need to come back to and check in on, because men having guys time and women having girl time, super important. I cannot say that enough. Okay, let's get back to where we were going with this. So you get ready for it, right? You cultivate, you're already planning for these kinds of things. You're making space for it. So now you need to get ready for it. So be the kind of person that you would want to be around, right? So if you're not the person that you would want to be friends with yourself, then why would anybody else want to be, right? Take a little look inside. Am I gossiping? Am I whining or complaining? Like when I finally get to talk to my girlfriends, am I like, oh my gosh, you cannot believe what Rick did. Oh my gosh, my kids are so annoying, right? Are you that person? Don't be that person. Be the positive, happy. I'm not saying you have to be happy all the time, right? I mean, obviously that's unrealistic. We all have our feelings and we all need to vent sometimes. My one guest on here, Randa, she's such a sweetheart. She said, I kind of have a philosophy where I know if someone, one of my good friends or something, it just feels like they need to vent, like they need that minute to get it off their chest. I say, okay, let's just get it all out. Just do it. Get it out. And then at the end of that 5 minutes or whatever the time frame is for that, let's problem solve now and figure out ways to do it differently, go about it differently so that we don't end up in the same place. So we don't end up with the same, like, you're not saying again, oh my gosh, I can't believe what Rick did again, right? It's like, no, he wouldn't be doing that again because we made a decision together that you were going to set boundaries, or we made a decision that you were going to have that conversation together, right? So don't get after me. I'm not saying you can't have your feelings. I'm not saying that. But do you want to be hearing every time this one friend calls you about how bad their day is or about how stressed out they are? Or, you don't want to. You don't want to hear it all the time. You've got to hear the good too. You want to hear the good, right? You want to celebrate the wins with them. So think to yourself, am I the kind of person when everybody calls me, I'm just like super busy, or, oh my gosh, I'm so stressed out. Oh, I'm so busy. Take a check. Check yourself and think, how am I projecting myself to other people? Is that going to cultivate the kind of relationships that I want? Also, that goes into playing games. I don't know if you guys have ever had this friend where you were like, oh yeah, let's set up a time to go hang out or something. And they were like, oh yeah, let's do that. And then I don't know how to explain it. It's so weird. Once they catch you, they're like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you know what? I just can't do that anymore. Or, oh, that I did not explain that well. I can feel it in my soul, but I can't explain it well. Anyway, for whatever reason, you've had that friend that's either flaky. We'll say that. We'll call it flaky. We won't say play games. We'll call it flaky, right? Do not rate. So you know what you want in a good friend or in a relationship. So do those things. Get ready for it. Sorry, I'll move off this topic now. Okay, moving on to, this is a good one. I love this one. It's my favorite. Stop being a spectator. Relationships are not a spectator sport. They are an engagement sport. They are an active participant sport. Stop being a spectator. Why are you sitting on the bench just watching everybody else make these connections? Why are you expecting everyone else to come to you and ask you how you're doing? You're expecting everyone else to come to you and get you out of your bubble. No, you walk up to that stranger and tell her how cute she looks today, right? Get out of your own comfort zone. I'm not saying, someone said it on a podcast the other day. I loved it. And he said, it was so beautifully said. He said, if you're a timid person or a shy person, we're not saying change who you are. You're not instantly going to be like, God's not all of a sudden going to give you this bravery and this outgoingness, like to be able to do things. It's a muscle. You have to work at it, right? But if you are this shy person, just recognize that that's what you are. And if you want to be the kind of person that can be outgoing, you're just going to be uncomfortable doing it until you do it enough where it becomes comfortable, right? You have to, it's like muscles, guys, they atrophy. You have to work those muscles. Your learning muscle, right? Your brain, you have to learn how to work those muscles again before you can use them better. Your outgoingness, characteristics are just like muscles. You have to do them in order to keep them strong, or else they'll atrophy, right? So be an active participant. I said this, I did a Facebook Live in my Facebook group, Revitalized Womanhood Facebook group. If you're not in there, come on in. I would love you to come, and especially come, and please come with the open heart and willingness to engage. So I defined the difference between, someone asked me what the difference between the free Facebook group for Revitalized Womanhood is versus my paid membership, which is the Revitalized Sisterhood. And I'm like, well, let me tell you this. Okay, let's take a look at the activity going on in the Facebook page, which I would love to be in there more and like trying to drum up engagement, but I can't. I can't constantly be this tugboat that's like, please talk to me. Please talk to each other. Please interact with each other. What do you need from this community? What can I give to you in this community? I can't do that. That's not life. That's not healthy for me. That's not healthy for you. I shouldn't be that person that has to drag you to things. So that's the difference. In the sisterhood, it's a community of active participants. Everybody is an active participant. You cannot be part of this community if you're just going to sit in the corner and be quiet. You can't. It's not okay. So everybody's here for the same reason. Everybody's here that has the basic foundation of same values, same core beliefs, right? Same whatever. So I tell them we leave small talk at the door. Once you join the sisterhood, small talk is out the window. We are now sisters, right? Are you sitting around having small talk with your sisters? Nope. You're talking about some really serious things. You're talking about funny things. You're talking about sad things. You're talking about things that have completely changed your life. You're talking about all the things. Versus the Facebook group where people don't feel like they have to engage. They're kind of just sitting on the sidelines waiting for other people to engage. They're not active participants. They are spectators. Don't be a spectator. Let's get this moving, right? If you want to cultivate these kind of bonds, the relationships that you are hoping for or looking for, stop being a spectator. All right, moving on. Always be available to grow. Okay, this kind of goes back to you only have 100% to give, right? So if you are cultivating or putting a lot of your energy into the relationships that aren't really doing it for you, right? They're not doing it for you. You're not doing it for them. You have such different interests. This person, let me give examples. I'm not thinking of anybody specifically. I will just give examples. Okay, so if you are the friend that wants to go out and have a good time every night. She's single. Maybe she has kids, but she's single. They're grown. She wants to go out and have a good time every night. And you have young kids that need to be fed dinner and a husband, and they need to be tucked in and get in tub and whatever. So you can't be friends with woo girl all the time because she's out doing her woo girl things and you're over here doing your mom life, right? That's two completely conflicting things. You cannot be giving your time and energy to that kind of relationship, because where does it get you? It doesn't get you anywhere. She might be fun to talk to every now and again because she's got some pretty interesting stories, or she's reminding you that you never want to be single again, but that relationship isn't serving you. So I think a lot of people have a really hard time with it because they just feel like they're being mean to not, and you're not being mean. You're not doing anybody any favors by hanging on to relationships that aren't doing anything for you, right? I don't know. It's not being mean, I guess. So yeah, it's setting boundaries. People have a hard time with setting boundaries. I think that comes into play a lot with family relationships. Just because you were born into this family, which I had a guy actually comment, he was from the Indian culture, and he said, that's so opposite of us. We cultivate our families. We hold the family together. And I was like, well, that's great. That's good for you. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about if you have a sibling who is completely toxic and so damaging to your relationship, why would you keep going back for more? This person is negative. This person is damaging. They hurt you. They hurt your feelings. They make it so you fight with your husband because you are upset about this relationship and your husband's telling you to stop getting involved in it. It's damaging. That is not good for you. So I'm sorry that they're blood, but it's a relationship. Think of it like it's a relationship. If it's damaging you and causing harm to you, that's toxic. You don't need it. I'm sorry. There are people out here that aren't blood that you can choose that become your family. Honestly, we've got some friends that our kids call aunt and uncle, and they are our family. It doesn't matter that they're not blood, because those are the relationships that I want to cultivate, is the ones that do good things for me, and hopefully I'm doing good things for them. All right. So always be available to grow. If you don't have enough of yourself to give, you have to make room for those good relationships. All right. So this next one, I think it takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to. So I wrote it as show your true self. What I mean by that, so I had something happen where someone reached out to me and was talking to me about something. And then she said, I couldn't share this with my community. They would never understand. Okay, that's a huge red flag for me. So I'm glad that I can be someone's community, that they can talk to me about these things. But you need people in your own corner. You need people in your little, your circle of 5 friends. You need those people. You need to have those bonds already cultivated. So if you're not showing up as the person that you actually are, if you're pretending that you're someone else, if you're pretending to have different interests, if you're pretending to whatever, if you're pretending, period. If you're not the actual, it's just like dating someone. Why would you pretend to like the same things that someone likes just to end up down the road? You were lying about it the whole time. So if you married this person, I guess dating, if you're dating this person and you end up saying, oh yeah, I love camping. I love camping. That's so fun. I love camping, because you're trying to be a chameleon and people please this guy that you're dating. And then down the road, he finds out you actually hate dating, or you hate camping because you're so sick of doing it, because you actually really did hate camping in the first place. But now you're just done. You're just like, I do not want to camp anymore. And this guy's like, what? You loved it when we met. Why do you hate it all of a sudden? Like, oh, because you were lying. You were not actually the person that I thought you were when we met, because you were lying, right? So same thing goes for any bonds, right? If my husband, all of a sudden we've got all these fights because I married him and he was thinking that I was XYZ, and now I'm not those things. And he's like, well, wait a minute, that's what you said you were. So why are you not now? That's going to create some serious problems, right? Be who you honestly are. Be true to yourself. And obviously we change, we grow, right? And hopefully you're growing, like with your spouse. Hopefully you're growing together. Hopefully these are things you're doing together. But things like having to hide your beliefs or having to hide your interests from your community, that's a big red flag. You're hiding. You're lying to yourself. You're lying to these other people. That's not a strong relationship. If you can't walk up to someone that's your dearest friend and tell them your deepest, darkest secret, and have them not love you still and hug you and say, we'll work through it, we'll figure it out, right? That's a community. Also, tell you that you were wrong. That's an even bigger part of that. If it's like my Revitalized Sisterhood, if one of these women tells me that they're on this path and I'm like, okay, like this example, if she's saying, oh, my husband did this, my husband did that, and I can't, like none of my women would say that. But if she were saying that and I'm hearing these toxic things that she's maybe doing to herself and she's not seeing, maybe she's like berating her husband or talking down to him or nagging at him, and I'm seeing this behavior, I'm going to call her out on it. I'm going to say, no, girlfriend, this is you, your poor husband. Listen to what you're saying and let's fix this. Let's work on this. I don't hate her, but I love her. So I want the best for her. So we're going to work on getting her and her husband in a better place, right? Or if my husband has a friend that's like going down a path of maybe accidentally having a relationship with a woman that's not his wife, like an emotional, they're talking and it's like, wait a minute. My husband sees this and he's like, no, this is not appropriate. This is not okay. Even though his buddy's like, what do you mean? Right? No. He loves this person. So he's going to say, we need to pull you back and rein this in. This is toxic behavior. It's not going to be good for you in the long run. Right? So it's being true to who you are and letting people know who you are and being true to them as well. Being true and holding them to a higher standard that they would hold themselves. They would want that you would want them to hold you to and you hold them to, right? Woof! We made it through. We made it through bonds, you guys. Bonds is I love it. I'm very passionate about it. That's why I think this was a lot easier for me to get through than normally when I'm just sitting here talking to myself and sometimes I struggle. But bonds, I have a real passion for making sure you're showing up for yourself in the right way and making sure you're showing up for these people that you want to cultivate these good relationships with. And you're going to be so much happier from it. You're going to be so much better off from it. But it does take work. It does take work. Like I said, you cannot just sit on the sidelines. You have to be an active participant in your own life in creating these relationships. And you have to be intentional and aware of the ones that are not good, that are toxic, that are harming you. I hope that was helpful. Thank you so much for being here with me on another Friday episode of To the Core on Revitalized Womanhood. I don't think I said it enough, like the 30 times I said earlier, go fill out the 4 weeks to a fresh start, but go ahead and do that again. I think it would be really great, and I would love to hear from you about it. If this is something that you feel passionate about like me, if you know somebody that needs to hear this message, please, just screenshot and send it to them. Screenshot, share it to your Instagram stories. Let me know, tag me in it. I would love to know that it's something that made you say, yep, I agree. I appreciate you spending your time with me. Thanks, ladies.